What a fucking shitstorm. YouTube. Fucking do better. Jesus Christ. Alright, use my other phone right now to pull up the chat so I can potentially talk to people. Alright, use my other phone right now to pull up the chat so I can Alright, there we go. Alright, guys. This is an impromptu live. I wasn't gonna do a live, but I decided, what the fuck? Got nothing else going on. In this live, I will be honing this. This is the gold dollar that I'm gonna be sending to Mr. Sean Stapelfeld, or Stapelfeld, however you want to say it. This razor is an absolute mess. Typical gold dollar. I got one of the $9 ones. Excuse me, one of the cheapest ones I could, and yeah. What have I done to this razor? While I'm talking, I'm gonna just try and flash light across this razor because the grind on this razor is freaking atrocious, man. It ends about right here, and then there's a flat area, and then it goes to the bevel, but this flat area has like 2 or 3 different grind marks in it. I don't know what they did to this. Gold dollar, their low-level razors are really just, they're trash. I mean, I Dr. Matted the shit out of this. We're listening to drum and bass. Dr. Matted the shit out of this fucking thing. And I took this to my 500 Chapton. I had to do shaping on the heel. When I bought this blade, it had a small smile to the toe, but the heel, the blade actually was going straight back from the smile that came into the toe and straight back. So I had to take back this heel and kind of repair what was going on back here. The back end of this grind right here looked more like a cross-grain wood saw. It was absolutely atrocious, but I straightened most of it out. There's still a little bit left, but I don't want to get too aggressive with this. I'll let Sean do it. We're basically exchanging these razors, so he can do whatever he wants with it. Took this my 500, did a bunch of profiling, went to my 1000 1K Shapton glass Rockstar, set in my bevel. It came out absolutely just subpar, but I mean, what do you expect on an $8 razor? I don't know, maybe it's picking that up, but it's not good. It's not good. It's a mess, but it is sharp. I'd like to say it's gliding into a peanut, but it's really not. But I've only done bevel set, and I'm about to do a little bit more bevel set. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this razor to my J-Nats, and I'm going to put a J-Nat edge on this. This hasn't been stropped, so it might be a little bit rougher than what it actually is. But yeah, that's what this live is. We're going to take this to my J-Nats. I got them soaking. Excuse me, gotta reach down and grab my first stone. This is my Karasu. I'm going to do my first 2 Nagur on this Karasu and work up to my other 5+ stone that I recently acquired, but there we go. This is my Botan. We're gonna start with this guy. I hope everyone's doing well. It's been a crazy week for me, honestly. The hospital was very busy this week, and I'm exhausted. My brain feels like it's on, I don't know, life support right now. So I'm going to try and be... Hey, what's up, Nemesis? Good to see you, Mikhail. Good to see you, Rick. I'm going to try and keep up with the chat and do this at the same time. But, yeah. Like I was saying, going to start out on my Karasu. I'm going to move up to my 5+ J-Nat that I haven't talked about. And I'm just going to put it out there. I got it from Eric. He happened to contact me about a couple of stones that he had ordered for someone, and they ended up backing out, and it gave me the chance to snag one. And when I bring up that stone, when I bring up that stone, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but this Karasu I actually got from my cousin Rob. Was relatively inexpensive, and I'm very blessed to have had this stone here. Got it for a good price. Gonna go in on this Botan, and right off the bat I can tell you the toe on this definitely has some issues. When I originally bought this, I was going to buy one of the more expensive gold dollars, but opted out and bought this super cheap one just to see what everyone was talking about with these cheaper gold dollars. And I will tell you, they are pretty trash. I'm sure that it's a game of roulette where if you're willing to buy a couple of them, one of them will have good geometry. When I bought this one, you can't see it anymore because I did a Dr. Matt on it, but the spine was basically an M shape, and the actual apex of the blade has a bend in it. So it's been a challenge with this, but you know, a year into the game, it's nothing I can't handle, nothing I can't deal with. Guys, thank you so much for coming in. If you stick around, I appreciate it. If not, you know, it's a Monday. You got stuff to do, I understand. But anyway, back to this razor. I've been using a lot of rolling strokes with this because of that warp, that bend to the blade. It's been fairly kind, but yeah, it was a struggle. When I was on my 500 Shafton, I had to do a lot of removal on this razor. It required quite a bit of finessing and quite a bit of, like I said, steel removal. But you know, it's one of those things. It's a learning experience, and honestly, I kind of have grown to appreciate razors that are a little bit tougher. Just because they're kind of a challenge, you know. This is a hobby, and what's a hobby if it's just the same redundant shit every time, you know? And I'm looking forward to actually getting a nice apex on this blade and sending it to Sean. I know we both bought these cheaper blue label gold dollars, so I'm sure his will be a little bit more finessed, a little bit more refined than mine, but you know, Sean has a little bit more technique, a little bit more time in the hobby. But I'm stoked because even with that, it'll give me a good gauge of where I'm at with my progression and where I need to go with it. And that's what this hobby is about, is learning from others and just trying to better yourself, you know? I know some guys get butthurt when they get told, yeah, it might be subpar. Honestly, I love it because I'm an Army cat. I've got my military time behind me, and that's what we would do in the Army. We'd say, hey, listen, you're doing well. You're doing great. I appreciate the effort, but you need to work on this. You need to work on that. And a big part of being a man is being able to admit when you might need to focus on something or better yourself, you know, because that's what life is about, bettering yourself all the time. And I can tell you already that first Botan is done. I'm going to move on to my second slurry. Rick, Michael, how are you guys doing? Michael, while you're in here, if you're still in here, I just want to tell you, dude, I'm loving your garden shaves, man. And not for nothing, you should do a review of your collection, a little show and tell of your razors, because I'll tell you what, by the looks of what you've been posting, you have quite a collection, man. A very admirable, very posh collection of razors. Rick, I'm glad you're back on the map. I watched your video earlier, man. Glad to see that you're just roughing through what's going on with your hand. It's always inspiring to see a man being a man and, you know, just carrying on, because, you know, we all get hurt. We all have these little hiccups that happen, but part of life is just kind of dredging through those hard times. All right, a little bit more water on this. I had something really crazy happen to me earlier today. I was coming home from the laundromat, which I went to, well, it's my morning, it's y'all's afternoon. I'm a second shift guy. And I was walking down the parkway that I live on, and I seen a man with blue and black painted toenails. And it kind of fucking threw me off, man. I don't know how to feel about it. Maybe you guys can tell me if you've seen a guy with painted toenails, even though they were blue and black. I thought it was kind of gay. I don't know. I don't have anything against gay people, but is this like a new trend that's coming around? Guys painting their toenails? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of a weird thing to me. I don't know, maybe some people are cool with it. You know, I'm getting a little bit older. I'm about 50 this year, and I don't understand some of the trends that have been coming down the pipeline recently. But you know, to each their own. I'm not knocking him, but I really didn't know how to feel about it when I saw it, man. It was weird. Thank you, man. Thank you. That's just a regular gold dollar with those sparkly plastic scales. This is one of the worst razors I've ever owned. When I did all the correction and bevel set, it took me just short of 2 hours to do it. And when I went to my Coticule, I did it over 2 days, because that in itself took about an hour, and I try and do these things before I go into work, so sometimes I have to start the project and then stop because I have to get ready for work. And I'm on water, so that's run its course. I think I'm going to do a couple feather light strokes on this. Yep, that's done. One thing I've learned with these J-Nats is once you feel your slurry break down, if you're on the lower ones, you're best not trying to push on them. You just move on to the next one. And here we go. Here's my my next progression. What is this? Tenju? Let me think. Botan, Tenju, Majiro, and Koma. Yeah, so this is my Tenju. And I'll do 2 slurries on my Tenju just because I think this razor is a problem razor and can probably use it. Oh, okay. So people send you razors to be honed. I get it, and I can understand that. I mean, you're a master honer, bro. Every razor I've ever heard you shave with, Michael, has been just, I mean, laser sharp, man. In fact, who knows? I think I'll hit you up, and maybe I'll send one to you to get home. I've got a couple half hollow TIs that I would like to have your edge on. I'd like to try it. So if you're down, I'd like to do that. Robert's Reviews, what's going on, Croatia? But yeah, Michael, if you're down, I'll send you one, man. And I'll pay the return postage and all that, and for your time and effort. If you're down, just let me know, man. I'd love to try one of your edges. After hearing them on your videos for, you know, a couple months now, I'd love to try one. So real quick, I'm going to take that last slurry and just wipe it off this razor with my microfiber. And we'll get into this Tenju. And I learned from Eric the Cajun Blade, so I like doing circles at first and kind of really working that slurry into the edge and erasing the scratch marks from the previous grit of Nagura. And I can tell you already, this is actually feeling good, but it's going to focus a little bit more on this tip. And it's on this side. For some reason, this side of the razor at the toe, it's been giving me a bunch of problems, and I know it's with the spine. You know, these gold dollars, I hate to say it, but the stamped razors and the Chinese quality control is, you know, a little bit less than perfect. Let's just put it that way. And if you guys will excuse me for a second, this is my day off. This is essentially my Saturday. And I need a little... Got my Modelo here. Modelo. So I'm going to take a little sip. Cheers, guys. And back to the stone. I'm just going to use a little pressure with my finger here to focus the work on this toe. But yeah, I gotta say, this razor has been a learning experience for me. I've done a little bit of correction, but I've never really had to do profiling or I forget what actual there's a technical word for it, and a lot of blacksmiths use it. It's not profiling. There's another word for it. Awesome. Glad to hear that, Michael. I will hit you up and we will arrange that. But yeah, there's a technical word for when you actually shape the razor, and I think I did a fairly good job of putting the smile back into this, because like I said, once it hit this midpoint, it was straight back, and so I had to do a little bit of aggressive work on the heel. But honestly, I think it came out pretty well. Sorry, I just hit the camera. And honestly, this is just an experiment. I've been on J-Nats for less than a month. I know Sean's got a couple months in with his, so I'm really excited about this because, like I said, everything about this hobby is a learning experience, and it's really important to have, in my opinion, elders or people that have more knowledge than you so you can grade what you're doing and really appreciate the outcome of hard work and determination after you have a couple years into doing this, and even just a couple months. I know that when I started this hobby, I started out on natural stones. The first stone that I actually bought was a Coticule, and I learned Coticules. And I spent about 4 months on Coticules before I was comfortable moving into other natural stones. I believe the next natural stone that I bought, yep, that's done, was a Laloon. And so I learned my way through, that is not a slate. Actually, no, that is a slate. I learned my way through slates, and the next stone that I bought was my Vermont. I'm sorry, my Laloon was a shale, and the next stone that I learned my way through was slates, which was my Vermont slate. And, you know, it's one of those things. When you get into natural stones, it's not like synthetics where you just pick up the stone and go. Synthetics were some of the last stones that I started buying. I recently got into synthetics about maybe 3 months ago. Actually, yeah, it was about 3 months ago I started buying Shapton Rockstars. But going through codicules and then shales and then learning slates, I learned what I like, and that's a cool aspect of starting and learning on natural stones. You really kind of refine your taste to what you like on your skin and what you enjoy honing on. Naturals from the beginning. Yeah, I hear you, Michael. Robert, what are you saying? Honestly, yeah, I understand you, Rob. And it's one of those things, natural stones are a conundrum. Some are really good at the low end, some are really good mid-range, and there's a very select few that are good on the top end for finishing stones. And I can tell you that with natural stones, it's really a learning process. You have to stick with it, and you have to learn the limits of your stones and what they can do. But that's why I'm really happy that I started with naturals and not synthetics, because synthetics are more robotic. You just do what you do, and honestly, I don't enjoy the shaving edges off of these synthetics, but they are a good learning tool to some degree. I know my cousin Rob from Razor's Edge, he actually started with synthetics, and I brought over a codicule, my first codicule, and literally I saw the light in his eyes when he hit that stone. He was like, oh, this is actually what honing is like. It's weird. Synthetics are good workhorses, but they're not going to teach you the finer aspects, the softer, more controlled precision of honing, just because of what they are, It's a little bit of grit suspended in a bunch of glue, and it just doesn't do the same for the tactile feeling and the understanding of what's going on with the steel on the stone as a natural does. And, naturals are hard. They're a little bit hard, You start out and you think you are doing well with naturals, but eventually you realize, okay, I need to work on my pressure. I need to work on my, my torque. How hard am I putting it on the stone? Because there's a bunch of different factors. You've got torque, which is how much pressure you're putting this way, but then you actually have pressure, which is how much you're actually pushing it on the stone. And in my opinion, natural stones teach you a lot more than a synthetic, just because they have a different tactile feedback. You're dealing with different minerals and different striations of minerals within your stones, and I feel as if everyone should start on these types of stones. Maybe not J-Nats, but just natural stones, rather than buying, say, a $20 king stone or something off of fucking eBay or, these cheap sites and stuff. Alright, so that was my second slurry on that. Gotta put these back real quick. I'm gonna grab my Majero, but one thing I've learned about J-Nats is if you have multiple stones, which this is about a 4.2, 4.3 stone, it's very beneficial to buy a harder stone to finish on. I could finish on this, but I prefer this stone right here. JPO, what's going on, John? Very, very, very pleased to see you here. Thank you for showing up. This is my brand new J-Nat. I know I talked about it a little bit in my last video. If you're very keen and you keep up with the community, you know this stone. This stone was in one of Eric's videos when he was honing up a razor for Melly Mel. This is a 5+ J-Nat. I believe it's a Shobudani. Honestly, it's escaping me right now because I'm half brain dead from work this week. But this stone is weird. It has a grittier feeling to the grind, to the cut, than this Karasu. This Karasu is glassy, but this stone finishes absolutely amazing. I love this stone. I believe it's a Shobudani. I wish I could go into my phone and look it up, and honestly, I was thinking about making notes for this video, but I'm so tired, and I just wanted to get this video out. I didn't make notes and everything. You know, when I do the shave, I will, because I'm gonna test shave this razor. I'll put all that info in there, but let's do my Magero slurry. And with my Magero, I go a little bit lighter than I do on my Botan and Tenju, but I still do a nice good slurry on this stone. Yeah, I feel you, JPO. And I had a feeling, just because of the way you hone, that you started with naturals. You could tell people who started with synthetics. They get to the natural stones and they don't know what they're doing because there's not a prescribed method or process that they use, that they can use, excuse me. With natural stones, you have to learn feel. You have to learn what your apex is doing and what the sound is and what's going on with the razor, without just doing, okay, I'm going to do 20 strokes and then I'm going to do 30 and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The process is different. It's much more refined. It's much more of an intimate hone, in my opinion, when you're on a natural stone. And that's why I think most people should start with the Codicule, like I did. But you know, it's one of those things. Not everyone wants to invest in a $100 stone. They want that $30, $40 king stone or whatever it might be. And just for reference, now that I'm on my Magero, I'm not torquing as much and I'm not putting pressure. I have very light torque, and this is my first Magero slurry, so I'm going to put a little torque into this just to make sure I'm erasing the striations from the, not striations, but the hone marks from the last Nagura. And when I do my second Magero, I am going to be featherweight. I am going to let this blade just glide across the stone, and I'm not going to try and make the stone do the cutting. I'm going to let the slurry do the cutting. And I think that's a lot of people, there's a lot of people, excuse me, that start with J-Nats and they think they're still on a synthetic or Codicule and they need to torque the blade into it. And J-Nats are special like that. All of the cutting is coming from your slurry. So you really don't want to use the base stone until the very end. And even at the very end, you just want to have a very light touch with the base stone. Robert's Reviews. I understand my first stone for fresh and natural, so I will go with the natural. I honestly think you're doing yourself a favor by doing that, Rob. And it's one of those things, with this hobby, patience pays off. A lot of people want to jump into it. They want to get on eBay and buy a bunch of bullshit that's cheap, and they expect it to do what, I don't know, people who have invested in a little bit more posh, a little bit more expensive stuff is doing. And when I say posh, I'm not talking about hundreds of dollars. You know, you can get a good J-Nat for around $150, $180. You can get a good custom razor for around $150 to $200. And I I feel like a lot of people are led astray by these forums that tell them, oh, just hop on eBay, buy yourself a $25 razor, get into the hobby. People are doing that, and it's not giving them the results that they want. And I think it's because, I don't know. It's one of those things. If you cheap out, you're going to get cheap results. You know, it's like shopping at Family Dollar versus shopping at, I don't know, Kroger or, Stop and Shop or wherever you are, a name brand store. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but you're going to get a higher quality product at the end. And I think a lot of people in shaving are just kind of misled by the community into buying cheap stuff, and they end up with a bunch of problems and a bunch of headaches, and they just put it down, and that is water. So there's my first Majero slurry. But it's one of those things, you get what you pay for, and a lot of people want it cheap, and you can't get what you're seeing on YouTube from these master honers and these people who have been in the hobby for years by spending cheap money. And I was watching Tim Shaves earlier. If you guys aren't subscribed to Tim Shaves, go check him out. He was in the hobby, he put it down, he started again, and he's starting to move into some of the natural stones and honing again. But he's still buying eBay razors. And I know in my last shave I was kind of ornery and kind of blunt about what I was talking about when it comes to these types of razors, but if you're buying a stamped razor, you're kind of rolling the dice every time, because with the stamped razor, you never know what you're going to get. And certain manufacturers have less of a probability of buying problems, but they all have problems. I think that Boker is one of the major manufacturers that has the least amount of problems with their razors, but I still have a Boker that needed geometry fixing and spine fixing, and that was from Boker. And I was shocked when I got it, and I kind of knew that that was the case because it was a secondhand Boker, but it exists with every stamped razor. Some of these manufacturers have a little bit tighter quality control, so there's less of a probability of getting one of those, but they are there with every stamped razor that you buy. And I know there's artisan blacksmiths like Sun Moon, like Drew Dick. There's a handful of them that do custom razors for around $150, $200, and that might be a bit of an investment, but I mean, either you want to do this hobby or you don't. That's my kind of feel towards it, If you've been doing your Chevettes and DE and you're kind of tired of that and you want something new, I mean, in my opinion, it's frugal to just save your money and get a really nice custom, as opposed to trying to get an eBay razor that's an older TI or an older Boker for a good price, and you think you're doing yourself well. And just get a custom razor. Just get a custom razor. You'll find the whole honing process is brainless. It's thoughtless. There's a lot more attention when you buy a custom razor, because it's not going through 5, 6, 7 people's hands. It's going through one person's hands, and they are ensuring that their artistic work is done right. And it took me a year to learn that. And honestly, I spent thousands of dollars on production razors before I got my first custom. And, I did it the hard way. So I'm not just talking out the side of my neck. I'm talking from experience. Honestly, we should be pushing these newer guys towards something else than eBay finds, because eBay and Etsy, I mean, they're great if you're in the hobby, you know what you're doing, and you're refurbishing them. But for a new owner, it's not the best way to go. Sorry if I knocked the camera again. Let me keep my water bottle over here. But on this last Magero, I'm gonna let this run out just a little bit. It is broken down. But at this point on my Magero, I am just the weight of the razor and just trying to feel that apex, and yep, that's done. That is done. I feel like I'm on the base stone. It's water and base stone, so I'm gonna wash that out, and we're gonna move to my coma. But yeah, it's one of those things, you know, there's people have been in the hobby who they have a bunch of different stones and they keep trying to push people towards these cheaper options to get them into the hobby. And I feel like they're doing them more harm than good, you know? It's one thing if you've been in the hobby for a year, 2 years, 3 years, you know what you're doing, you can buy those cheap razors and make them work. But it's another thing when you've never honed before, and all of a sudden you're buying these eBay razors, these Etsy razors, and they've got all these stamped, manufactured, just bullshit fucking problems with them. I don't know. I'm gonna keep preaching this though. Just a heads up, I am still gonna keep preaching this. Someone who's coming into the hobby, if they ask me for their opinion, I'm gonna tell them, save up $200, get yourself a custom, because I feel like, again, with these production razors, you're rolling the dice every time. So this is featherweight. I am just the weight of the razor. I'm trying to feel my apex and make sure everything is smooth and buttery across my apex. Let me look into the chat here and make sure I'm not missing anything. Roman, yes, I actually want a razor from Roman, and I've seen another guy on Instagram. I believe his name is Ivan, and I haven't nailed down what his actual company name is, but I subscribe to him on Instagram. And you know, it's funny you say that, because JPO, John, I was looking at Roman's and I was looking at getting a Karat, and I think Roman does a little bit more refined work than Karat. And I know my cousin has a Karat that's beautiful, but after seeing a Karat and a Drew Dick next to each other, there's not much of a difference between the two. And I gotta say, Drew Dick's prices are a little bit better. Though I do like his Karat. But Roman razors, oh man. And the Ivan, God, I wish I could think of his last name. You guys might know who I'm talking about. His razors look just next level. Next level. I do have a Drew Dick on the way. He's going to be making me a commissary. I'm waiting for him to produce the specific, what am I trying to say, steel that I requested. And I have a 6-week wait on that because he's making me a Damascus. But later on this week, probably around Friday to Saturday, I will have my new Wolf Blade is going to be in. So I will be showing off that, and I've already came up with a pet name for it. I have a battle axe. That is gonna be my executioner axe, because it's an 8/8. It's a little bit bigger, and from what he's been telling me, it's a beast. And I'm very stoked to get that razor in. But that being said, got that Drew Dick coming, and I believe the next person I'm gonna order from is going to be Roman and Ivan. Only because I want a 2-week, 7 set of razors that are custom. I have 2 customs from Griffith Shaving. They're a bit older, and honestly, from what I've got from other manufacturers, they're decent. I'll just say that they're decent. I haven't tried one of his newer custom blades. I'm sure they're a step above what I already own. But yeah, I just want to keep it moving with the customs. And eventually, what I'm going to end up doing is taking all of my production razors and either raffling them off or just sending them off. Because with the exception of my 5 TIs, I'm kind of done with the production razor thing. I find much more enjoyability, much more satisfaction with my custom razors, and that's what this hobby is about for me, is satisfaction, comfort of shaving, things like that. Yeah, that's a good question. How much is the cost of the sharpening from Croatia and Greece? I'm sure it's all euro, so it's relatively similar, but I don't know. Rob, maybe you can answer that. So going a little bit lighter with the second coma. Make sure I got enough on my stone. I'm actually going to wipe off the first coma. And I gotta say, this is feeling nice and silky, except for, and there it goes. All right, this is feeling nice and silky, and this is one of those things. I'm sending this to Sean Stapelfeld, and it's like my last video. It's like sending a stick figure drawing to Michelangelo. I'm sure his edge is going to outshine mine. I'm expecting it. I know it's going to happen, but I hope he finds this comfortable. I don't expect it to be anything spectacular, but if he can enjoy it, that'll be good enough for me, because I'm still green. I'm learning. I haven't even actually exchanged edges as far as J-Nats with my cousin Rob yet, so you know, big step for me, setting it to a legend. I'm drying out a bit here. Get a little bit of this. Guys, I want to thank you just for hanging out with me. Honestly, I just got done with my laundry, and I was like, you know what? I feel like getting on the stones for a little bit. And this is just about broken down. I have a little bit of cut left. You can see my undercut is looking good. All right, gonna move on to Tomo. And I am going to do a double Tomo with this. I did it on the last razor that I did a shave video with, which was my my vintage 1800, 1850 Williams and Sons. This is my hard Tomo. You guys who are into J-Nats, you might know what this is. Maybe I'm holding it upside down. I don't know. I believe it goes that way. You might know what that means. I don't. All I know is this is a super freaking hard stone. But since I got this 5.5, it really works well. I tried this hotter Tomo on my Karasu here, and it wasn't really working so well. This stone was actually scratching the Karasu. With this stone, it doesn't, but I'm gonna do this one first, and then I'm gonna use this. This is my softer Tomo, and I know this breaks down a little bit finer, so I know that because the particle size is smaller with this one, it's really gonna polish that edge at the end, but anyway. When I do my tomo, I like a super, super, super misty slurry. And that's all I'm doing right there. Dry my hands a little bit. But yeah, coming from, you know, coticules, slates, and shales to J-Nat, it was 100% a natural type progression. I highly recommend, again, people start on coticules and work their way up. I just realized I didn't really clean that. So I'm gonna wash this slurry and do this one more time. But yeah, I think the way for new people to start in the hobby is with the coticule. Get yourself an $80 to $100 coticule. Get yourself a $200 razor. It's a $300 investment, but it's a lot better than trying to spend $100 and try and get into this hobby and just finding that you don't like it because nothing really works the way you want it to. And I gotta say, that's a little bit thick for a tomo. Wash some of that off. I like my tomo slurries very misty. Show, you know, I've heard that name before, Michael, and oh yeah, I've got a little stick on here. When I get a little stick, I like to do this. And it might not be proper, but I'll give it one blast of diluted soap and water, and it just keeps it from sticking so I can work through my tomo. There we go. Cut that surface tension just a little bit and let that slurry do its work. And you can see that the bubbles are kind of skating off the stone right now. I'm just going to do a little bit of this toe work here. And you know, I've learned a lot from this community. JPO has been a huge influence. Jacques from Dapper Blades, Eric the Cajun Blade, Sean Stapelfeld, or Stapelfeld, if you like, has been a huge influence. But it's one of those things where this hobby is like crack. Once you really find your way through the beginning parts of it and start getting good edges on your razors and stuff, you can't walk away from it, man. There's no other hobby in existence, going to my soft tomo now, that gives this type of satisfaction, you know? And I've had a bunch of hobbies, welding, crafting, a bunch of different things, but, you know, it's not the same. It's like you do this process, and the process actually interacts with you as a human being. It interacts with your skin, your face. It's very visceral. It's one of these hobbies, which there are a few more that I can think of, that are just exceptional, man. And not for nothing, a lot of people in this community just make it special, you know? And JPO, John, you're one of them. Michael, you're one of them. Rob, you're one of them. You know, I can't think of another hobby that I've been into where I've met such decent, outstanding, and upstanding human beings. And honestly, I'm so glad I got into this hobby, man. It's outstanding. You know, Sean, Eric, Rob, No Name Bear, Johnny 5, Happy Shaver, Pete. You know, there's just people in this community that, you know, they're just my type of people, you know? And I still got a I've still got a tiny bit of that soap on here, so it's cutting that surface tension, but man, this razor is kind of sticky, and I don't want to push too far into this, because one thing I've learned with J-Nats is when it feels done, it's done. Still a little, yep, there it goes. All right. And guys, this blade is done. I've got a slight bit of suction on each side, which tells me that this apex is as sharp as it's getting, excuse me. Fumbling over my words. This is Sean's gold dollar, $8 razor, absolute fucking shit house of a fucking grind from the factory. But I think we put a really, really, really nice J-Nat edge on this. And yeah, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna blow it down with the blow dryer. Can you guys see this? Is that registering? Like, look at the grind. The factory just literally just kind of tossed this thing around, put a basic edge on it. We'll see how Sean likes that. Rob, Michael, John, thank you guys for coming out. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday. Here's my Modelo. Cheers, guys.